Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a little bit different video. I'm actually out of town right now, bowling. So didn't have a video for Sunday, so I decided to do a top 5, 6-ish combos type technique video. Kind of show you what the combos I'll be rocking this summer for certain techniques that are really good for me and really important to me. And you'll see that there's some rods that you don't need all these rods. You can do some crossover with these rods. So let's get into the video. So of course, it's summertime. By the time you're watching this video, we're already in June. So this is when fishing, for me at least, is still pretty good. I usually do pretty decent up into about July, and then that's usually about the end of July I start tapering off, August and September. But the techniques and rods and baits don't really change. It's just where I need to target them, change a little bit. So of course, it's gonna get tough sometimes. So let's show a couple spinning combos first. So of course, first is the Dobyns Cadence 712 SF. This is a medium light rod. So I am throwing, I am very big on throwing a drop shot in the summertime, even for largemouth. That bait being suspended off the bottom sometimes can be really good. I can slow it down. But on the medium lights, it's really good as well. You can throw swim baits really, really well, really easy on these. So it's kind of multi-purpose. If I want to do some scoping with one of those pintail type baits, I can with this. I can throw swim baits on this, but it's mainly a drop shot rod for me, or those lighter type techniques. I got this paired up with a l.omeara 10-pound braid, and I change the fluoro based off what I am. If I'm fishing really clear fishery, I go down to 6 like I have right now. Or if the water's a little bit dirtier, then I can go up to 10-pound braid or 10-pound fluoro. Next is Dobyns Cadence 713. To set it to 3 power, medium power. You can use it for literally anything. The nice thing about Dobyns is that their actions are fairly similar throughout the models. So if you don't want to spend Cadence price, you know, 190 bucks, the 3 powers you can get all the way down the Maverick series, which is $99. So figure out which price range you like, and they do make them a little bit different lengths as well. But this is my Cadence 713. So I throw, of course, shaky heads on this. I will throw power shots on this. I will throw wacky rigs on this, but mainly in my 3 powers, when the type bite gets tough, I'm usually picking up a shaky head, or I am picking up a wacky rig. I will also throw smaller jigs. I really need to get one of my baitcaster 3 powers set up with 12-pound fluoro, but the 3 power and the spinning does really well for those smaller jigs, Ned rigs, little tubes. I will throw on this Cadence 713. So it is, the 3 power is very versatile. You can get away with picking up a medium power and kind of doing all your finesse techniques on it. This is of course a Shimano Stratic. This is last year's gen, so I got it on sale. But I am rocking, right now this is 16, but I'm about to go to 20-pound braid, and then I can change my leader out. I will go everywhere from 6 pounds, mainly 8 pounds up to 16-pound fluoro. I will put 16-pound or even 20 if I'm flipping into cover and I need that spinning rod to get them, maybe help me get them out a little bit, or going more finesse but still flip into cover. So that's a 713. Now we got all that boring stuff out of the way, that spinning rod stuff. Let's get into more fun stuff. Top water. And of course, top water can be multiple different things. All about what you fish, where you fish, and how you fish. If I'm shallow, I'm going to try to throw a frog. Favorite way to catch them shallow is on a frog. Walking a frog, kicking a frog, no matter what. But this is a Dobyns Champion 735. Same as the 3 power spinning. If you don't want to spend $270 on a frog rod, don't blame you. Got this on sale, that's why I have it. They make the 735 in other models. They do make a 735 in the Maverick series, but it's more like a mag heavy. It's still plenty fine, but if you want that exact 735 in the Champion, which is in their flipping line, you can get it in the Fury line for $139. So you can get this action in a lower model. Right now I have a loose Super Duty on here. Got some issues with the release button, keeps locking me up, somehow to get someone to change on that. But this is what I use for frogging, but you can use it for flipping and pitching. Eventually, if I ever get a different frog rod, this will eventually become a flip pitch rod for me. But this rod is very useful, and it is frogs only. Now, the next 2 combos in the topwater line that I will be using are multi-purpose. So this is where it's kind of nice to rock maybe braid on a medium heavy power rod, because then you can use it for top waters in the morning, and then once they're done eating top water, you can cut it off, tie some fluoro, and now you're gonna throw some movement baits, bottom contact baits, stuff along those lines. One of my favorite top water rods is the Maverick 733. Doesn't break the bank, 99 bucks. You wait for a sale, American Legacy, Tackle Warehouse, or whoever is your local Dobbins dealer, and you can get a Maverick for traditionally about 80 bucks on a sale. They're very good rods for the price point. I mean, yeah, are they as sensitive as my Champions and my Cadence? No, they're cheaper. They're cheaper materials, of course. But for 100 bucks, they are a really, really nice rod. Overall, been very, very impressed with these rods. Caught fish on them, so of course that helps. But of course you can see, told you it's my top water rod. But I got a swim jig on there because I'm running 30-pound Suffix 832 to a 16-pound Sunline Sniper fluoro. And if I want, I could cut this off, run straight braid, throw a buzz bait, which I actually have my first ever on the water video, is me using this combo and catching buzzbait fish. Of course they're small, but the 733s, it's a 7'3" medium heavy rod. They're actually rated from 1/4 to 3/4, so they're really pretty soft. But I like to throw a lot of walking baits, like 105 sizes, 90 size choppos. You can get away with a 105 choppo or whopper plopper, but I think the 90s work best with this. What's really nice is when you get into multi-purpose rods, if you do have the money to spend on buying a combo that you can throw straight braid on, or if you just want to keep a couple combos, putting straight braid on a pole is really, really nice. You can take it out, run straight braid, fish morning, top water, walking baits, whatever, and then once the bite dies, you can cut it off, tie a fluoro leader if the water's clean, and now you're throwing a swim jig that day. You can throw a jig on this rod. You can throw Texas rigs on this rod. But 3 power is a little bit lighter, so if you really need you're putting a stiffer hook, stiffer jig, you need to go up to a 4, which you'll see in a little bit, or a 5 power. But the Dobbins Maverick 733 is a great option for entry-level top watering. And the last combo for top waters, which is also another multi-purpose rod, is a crankbait rod. And my main one is the Dobbins Cadence 734 CB. If you guys have not watched my channel before, I hoot and rave about this rod, about being a fantastic crankbait rod for everything under 10 foot. But talk about top water here. So another one, it's really good. So I have 2 of these Cadence 734. One with fluoro, one with braid. This is actually 20-pound Berkeley Trialing X9 braid. Fairly thin braid, come off the spool really well, and it ties really, really good knots. And it's abrasive resistant. I traditionally use 30, but last year I started playing with some 20, and I really liked the extra casting distance, and I really didn't seem like I was having issues, you know, having knots fail on me, getting frayed real easy. So 20-pound is what I'm gonna stick with this year. Of course, got a Shimano Corrado DC on that. So everything I just said about the Maverick 733 appears to this. The big difference is the crankbait rod. So it loads way deeper. I'm not gonna throw buzz baits on this, or lighter frogs and stuff. This is more a choppo rod. I like throwing choppos on this, or a walking bait, even a popper. Because on those techniques, you don't really have to hit them, especially running braid. You can kind of just put your rod tip down and just work it. You can see how that tip is nice and soft. It traditionally doesn't take a lot of action to move a walking bait. If you had to put a lot of action in it, there's something wrong. So, but the Cadence 734 is a fantastic crankbait rod and an awesome top water rod for multi-purpose. So if you don't want to take many combos, you can bring a Maverick and you can bring a Cadence 734. Now, we have our finesse stuff. We just had a bunch of fun catching some top water fish. Now, they're not on the top, they're, you know, in the middle. They're kind of shallow still, but we're having issues, can't get them to commit to top water. Well, what we can do is we can try crank for them if the conditions hold up for it. If not, we'll show you some different combos in a little bit that you can use. If they're not, you can't really throw crankbaits. But if they're shallow, we're back to that 734. We cut off our top water bait, our popper. We tie a fluoro leader on, and and then you also can compare it. We have 20-pound braid. You know how easy it is to swap and go thinner fluoro? You just cut your leader off and tie one on. Right now, with the one being so shallow, I have 16-pound fluoro on here. And what that does is help the bait not dive as deep. The heavier the line you have, the more your bait will rise. So traditionally, if you want, you can technically put 30 or 40-pound braid on this with 16-pound fluoro, and technically your bait will rise more because you got a heavier braid on there now and heavier fluoro. But you can see, got a little crankbait on here. This thing only dives a couple feet. You put some 16, now you're only a foot deep. But the nice thing about the Cadence 734s is that you can throw a crankbait like this, 1/4 ounce, all the way up into, at least for me, comfortably like a DT8, DT10. So now you're with one rod, you're able to, with braid, take care of all your fishings from technically 0, because you're throwing top water, all the way up to 10 feet of diving depth. That is a very versatile rod for someone who doesn't want to carry a bunch of rods. And all you gotta do is just grab a crankbait rod and throw some fluoro. Of course, recommend that 734 because that is the best crankbait rod on the market. Now, you're probably asking yourself, Logan, the fish are 12, 15 feet out. What kind of rod can I get if I want a designated deep crank rod? I traditionally don't have the crank that deep. There's gonna be a couple of times throughout the year that I have the crank, so I have found rods that I can use for other things. So if you want to throw bigger top water, you know, a Chapo 105, a 125 walking bait, anything bigger, you can go to a Dobyns Champion 765, a fantastic deeper crank rod. Prime example, we got a 10-footer on here, but I've thrown all the way up to Cloud 9 C15s, and those can get down to 17, 18 feet of water. Is it the best rod for that? No, you're having to go to 805 once, but this rod will work. This body you can crank on no problem and not have any issues. But the nice thing about the DC 765 is it's 7'6". You can get that bait way out there, get the bait down deep. But it's a 765, so if you really just want to buy one crankbait rod, this rod's not the best for that shallow, you know, 3/8 half and less. You know, this is more of a deeper diving crankbait rod, 10 foot to 15. But if you guys didn't see my channel videos in the beginning of the year, it's also awesome lipless rod. So if that makes it easier for you to say to buy a Dobyns Champion 765, you know you can throw it for liplesses. So there you go. Now I have my spring rod throwing liplesses on, and once they move off, they're ready to eat some deeper crankbaits. Boom! You take that lipless off, now you have a deep crankbait rod. This rod's also really good for throwing spinner baits and chatter baits. I have my other rod like for chatter baits, but this rod will work for chatter baits. And then all you gotta do is slap on a Shimano Corrado 200M with that new MGL3 and silent tune. That thing just launches whatever bait you pie on. So if you're needing a crankbait rod to go over 10 foot, or if that's what you mainly deal with is fish over 10, the Dobyns 765 is probably your rod. So you caught some fish on topwater. Then you were able to get some on crankbaits. But you're starting to get into some grass and you're starting to have some issues with your crankbaits getting in the stuff. So now you need to switch around and do some like rods that kind of do everything. That's where these rods come in. So once again, we're back to that Maverick 733. You saw swim jig. So I can take this rod if they're not really eating the top water. Let's say they're sitting like 3 or 4 feet of water. There's not coming up. You can tie a swim jig on, chuck it out there, get it into the grass and pull it out. You can also throw a wobble head on this. Now you can do some different techniques with this. Literally everything you need is in the 3-power line. Swim baits, swim jigs, chatter baits, spinner baits, whatever you need, you can get into a Maverick 733. Or you decide that you want a little bit higher quality 733, a little bit more sensitive, you can throw it a little bit deeper, and maybe you don't want to go braid, you want to have a designated fluoro 733 rod. That's where the Dobyns Champion XP come in. Now you have a high quality blank, high quality components on this rod, so now you don't feel as like you might be missing a fish with the Maverick, because it is a cheaper rod. They're not as sensitive as a Champion. Everything you do with the Maverick, you can do with a Champion. This is my, of course, my go-to chatterbait rod. So if they're up shallow, I can throw a chatterbait. If they move offshore, I can tie on a 1/4 ounce, 3/8 swim bait and chuck it out there. If they're deep, if I need to throw a football jig, guess what? I can grab my Dobbins Champion 733, tie football on there, and bomb it out. Same thing as for wobble heads, everything like that, jigging spoons, whatever I need that my crankbait rods can't do, now I can grab a Dobbins Champion 733 and get it taken care of. And of course, had that paired up with a Shimano Corrado 70, super great all-purpose rod and reel combo, ready for fishing. And if you like throwing 6-inch swim baits, or just want to need a little bit more oomph in that hook set, and that's 3 power is a little too soft for what you're technically needing for, you can get into the Dobbins Cadence 744. Now you're in a 4 power. Now you're in a heavy power, 1 ounce. You can see 6-inch call shad. It throws it great. It's got enough tip that they can load in real deep, but enough backbone I can still have plenty of leverage on them. This is good, of course I said, call shad, bigger swim baits. You'll see some 6-inch top hooks on here, wobble heads, of course footballs. If I need to throw a jig or a Texas rig, this rod will come in as play as well. So this rod is also a really good all-purpose rod, just when you need a little bit more oomph. Got a Shimano Bantam on there, so I get the best of everything. Really good high-end reel to let me do as many different techniques as possible. So we caught them first thing in the morning. We caught them on some top water. We were able to get them shallow with our swim jigs and chatterbaits, and we were able to catch them on a crank. We kind of followed them out. Now they're in a little bit deeper water. We were able to get them, kept more bites on them with the swim baits. We were throwing a slight Texas rig, but now we're just feeling like they're really acting really weird, and they're just can't really tell a bite. That's where this one comes in. And when you save some money up, please do, and get yourself a Dobbins Champion Extreme HP. This thing is crazy good. I've set the hook so many times because I literally feel the slightest bumps, and I just still can't tell yet what's a bite, what's not. I'm still doing my best. But you get into a Dobbins Champion 745, now you're doing everything bottom contact related. Jigs, footballs, flipping up shallow. So this is my main bottom contact rod for all my jigs and Texas rigs. I will throw Texas rigs on this, but I do like throwing them on that 744 Caden and of course the 733 Champion. But bottom contacting, this is the deal. Jigs, all day we tied on this combo. So I just showed a lot of different combos and a lot of different techniques. You're probably asking yourself, Logan, if you can only have 5, which 5 are you taking to the lake and trying to catch some fish? And of course, the 5 rods you'll take to the lake is of course going to be different based off your lake. But these 5 rods that I have picked out to the side right now, of the ones I showed you, are the ones I'm going to gravitate to because I know I can get away with a lot of different things on them. First is that Dobbins Cadence 713. We already went over the pros of this. Throwing a shaky head, I can throw a wacky rig, so this rod gives me enough power to throw a wacky rig up shallow, and if they are a little bit deeper, I can go to a shaky head or even a tube. Next one, most of my lakes, I'm typically cranking under 10 foot. There's a couple lakes I go to that are deeper, but 99% of the time, I'm gonna go with my Cadence 734 because I have the ability to go up to at least 10 comfortably. I can throw a 12 or a 14. It's just a little not enough powerful enough because it's a medium, not medium heavy. But I know I can bring the Dobbins Cadence out and I can get some fish in the boat on the crankbait. And next one is the Dobbins Maverick. I picked the Maverick over the Champion because that braid. With me having the braid on this pole, I'm able to do multiple things with it. I can have a top wire tied on first thing in the morning, and then I can go to a swim jig or a chatterbait on this or whatever. The 733s are really good for being an all-purpose rod, and with having that braid, it makes it that much more versatile for me every day on the water. And of course, we have to go with this big brother in the Cadence line. We have to go with a 744 as my next rod, and that's pretty much whatever I'm trying to throw on a 733. Traditionally, it'll be like a swim jig, and there'll be a bigger swim bait on this, a jig. Usually, if I have that extreme, I'll throw like a Texas rig on this, so big worm. Any kind of technique like this, jigging spoons, stuff like that. So now, if I need something with a little bit more power, I can get that 744 and I can get it done. And of course, last but not least is that 745. I'm not going out summertime fishing and fishing a jig without my Cadence set, my Dobbins Champion Extreme 745. Just not happening. So if I'm going out throwing a jig, that 745 is coming, and I can throw it top, I can throw it on there and call it a day. But like I said, I can throw Texas rigs on this. If I'm throwing some really deep swim baits, I can throw it on this. This rod's very, very useful. It is strong. It's a mag heavy rod, but it is still very versatile on a lot of techniques I can throw. So this rod's always coming with me. So that is kind of my mindset going into the season of summer fishing. Of course, I usually have at least 5 rods or more on my deck. And my last, you saw those 5. Those are my main 5 I'm gonna be rocking main this year. And of course, it can be different. If I go out and I know it's mainly a grass fishery, I'm gonna probably swap out that 713K and go to 712. I can throw a drop shot. If I know they're on mainly deeper ledges, you know, I'm gonna have the crank down to 12, 14 foot, I'm gonna go straight ahead and grab that 765. If I know the rigs, once again, really grassy and up shallow, I can go to that 735. And of course, if I need to throw a lot of swim baits or a lot of more underspins and stuff like that, and even chatterbaits still, I can go and swap out that Maverick if I'm fishing a little bit deeper, and I can go to a 733, throwing football jigs. So I would say if you're looking to get into some Dobbins rods, or just looking to see what you have, you get yourself a medium power spinning rod, depends whatever length you like. I like 7 foot or longer. Get yourself a crankbait rod, very useful, 1/4 to 1 ounce, and that should take care of all your business. I run multiples because I like the 734, so a lot more shallower, 765 a little bit deeper. And then get you a nice medium heavy bait caster, 7 foot, 7'3", 7'5". And if you can, if you're really confident tying braid to leader, put some braid on that. Now you can throw stuff in the morning with it, and then once the morning bite ties off, you can tie a different bait on. Or if you got multiple medium heavies laying around, leave one fluoro, leave one braid. And then you get into these last 2 that I showed you, the Cadence 744 and the Dobbins Champion Extreme 745. That 744 is just really, really useful and just a little bit more power. So if you're in a lot of grass, you gotta fish a little bit deeper and just need that little extra power, or that little extra bigger bait, that 744 comes in and takes care of that problem for you. And when you're on the bottom and you need to fill everything on the bottom and catch those deep fish being really stubborn, that 745 comes in. Or if you need to throw a swim jig or a swim bait deep, that 745 comes in play and helps you get those fish in the boats and hopefully win some money. So let me know what you think about the video. Let me know if you guys like these kind of videos. It's a little different for me, being in front of the camera and just talking about different techniques and baits. But I just kind of hodgepodge video together. But let me know what you think. If you like these videos, I can do one for the fall. But those main 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rods are the main rods that are be in my boat coming out. You know, I have some other 3 powers, but these are my main rods that I'll be throwing this summer to help me catch as many fish as I can and hopefully win some dough on those tournaments. So, and if you'd like to support the businesses that support me, all their contact information will be in the description. But until then, please like, comment, subscribe again, and I'll talk to you soon.